You're right. Okay, yeah. So, hi everybody, and I'm Tess, and I'm the founder of Sweeter Life, and I'm really happy to be invited to talk to you about sugar because I love talking about sugar as a rampant sugar addict for almost as long as I can remember. But thankfully, I'm now reformed and got my health back, and now I'm helping people overcome their sugar cravings, get blood sugars balanced so they can get their health back too and enjoy a sweeter life. I really do believe that life is sweeter after the white stuff. So just a little bit about my background, that I'm a former nurse, and I left my work as a clinical nurse specialist in palliative care a couple of years ago. So I was like the hospice version of a Macmillan nurse. And part of my role was to prescribe medication to help ease people's symptoms at the end of life. And I loved my work, but I just felt I was burning out, and I think partly that was because it just wasn't resonating so much anymore with me. And I knew that drugs, they help to mask symptoms, which is very appropriate at the end of life. But drugs don't help people get better, and I just felt I wanted to be part of helping people live well and be part of preventing people from getting sick in the first place. And so, yeah, and where better place to start than with sugar and out of my own experience, really. So I'm also an integrative nutrition health coach, and it's a really holistic way of looking at health, and it focuses not just on the food we put on our plates, but the other things in life that feed us as well, like the relationships in our lives and loving what we do, you know, fulfilling career or retirement, addressing what gives us joy in our lives and what, you know, how we find meaning. And, you know, when these things are more in balance, they really do impact on our food choices as well. So it's, I think anyone looking to kind of move away from sugar, it absolutely has to be a holistic approach, as in any healing at all. So we're going to just take a look at breaking free of cravings. But first of all, I just want to put it into context a little bit, because and look at the why. Why do we get cravings? Because once we understand that a bit, then it can be very empowering, you know, when we look to break free of sugar. So as we all know, sugar is really, really addictive. And you've probably heard the saying all the time these days that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. And I don't know how true that is, but it is really, really addictive. And what I find just so perverse, really, is that cocaine is so hard to get and it's all closely regulated. Thou shalt not take cocaine. And yet sugar is absolutely everywhere, and it's celebrated in our culture. It's, you know, it's so widely accepted, and it's a way we express our love for people. It's, you know, we reward our children with sweets and chocolates and baked cakes to show our love and everything. And it just seems really such a kind of paradox, really, that on the one hand we love it, we celebrate it, we reward each other with it, and yet on the other hand it's making us sick. And, you know, the fact that it is everywhere, sugar, it's almost as if the food industry, you know, is aware of its addictive nature, and it hides it in just about everything in the supermarkets. Anything that's got a label on, you can be pretty sure there's loads of sugar hidden in various different guises. It might not actually have sugar on the back of the label, but sugar comes in multiple guises, and it's all very misleading, really, and some very cleverly marketed products out there that are so-called healthy, and actually they're anything but. So it's really hard to cut back on sugar if you don't know how much you're eating. So I found understanding the physiological response to sugar is really important, because it can really help us to understand why we get those cravings. And so insulin is the key player in all of this. It's an amazing hormone that is released from the pancreas in response to sugar. So we eat sugar, blood sugars go way, and then insulin's released, and its job is to get the sugar out of the blood and into the cells. And then what happens? The blood sugar goes down. And what happens when the blood sugar goes down is that we feel tired, possibly a bit cranky, and then the cravings hit. We start feeling hungry. And at the same time, when we eat sugar, we've got dopamine being released from the pleasure centers in the brain. And dopamine, that's where the word comes from. Dopamine gives us that momentary high, that feel-good factor, and it just doesn't last very long. So you've got blood sugars dipping, and then the dopamine dipping, and the body's craving that lost high. And that's, we just want more of it. So and the other thing that's really important in this is that sugar inhibits the appetite hormone, which is leptin. And leptin is the hormone that tells us when we're full. So when we eat sugar, we just keep going. There's no switch off button when it comes to sugar. So it's amazing, isn't it, how all these hormones kind of play into play, and our bodies are absolutely amazing in all of this. And so a few tips about sugar, breaking free of cravings. One of the things I always say is it's just so important to stay hydrated. That's one of the most important things we can do, really. And I'm not talking drinking lots of coffee and tea and a glass of wine at the end of the day. It's about drinking water and herb teas as well. And I find it really, really helpful to start the day with a pint glass of warm lemon water. And if you can imagine that, it just kind of flushes out the system after the night. And it's a real detoxifier, really, and it gets the liver going. And it's just one of the best things we can do to start the day, is start with that, getting water into our bodies. And I also find it really, really helpful because, sometimes you might feel hungry, but actually, our bodies mistake thirst for hunger. And if we just have a glass of water when, we first get the stirrings of the sugar monster or whatever, have a glass of water, and sometimes, we find those cravings ease. And I also, I just make a pot of tea as well. And, well, not ordinary tea, just maybe, so I grow lots of mint in my garden. And so I make a pot of mint tea in the morning, and sometimes I make a pot of ginger tea in the afternoon. And something lovely is ritual about making a pot of tea and drinking the whole lot. And before you know it, you're really fully hydrated and not getting hungry in between meals at all. So that's important. So, and secondly, it's about cooking from scratch, doing all your home cooking if you can manage it. And it's just really going back to basics, really, and not buying anything that's got a label on it if possible, because that's when the cravings can hit, because of the hidden sugars, and then we get the cravings. So by cooking all our own food from scratch, we know exactly what's in our food, and we can batch cook. So at the weekends I make a batch of soup. I make soup of the week. And then there's always something in the fridge that I can eat if I'm getting hungry, because when you get hungry, you want something straight away, if you're anything like me. And if I don't have something to hand, I'm more likely to indulge in something that I probably shouldn't. And that's the other thing. Don't have anything in the home that is got sugar in it, or the refined sugar I'm talking about. So because if it's not in the home, you're just not going to have it. And it's about having lots of healthy snacks ready, available as well. So I always, if I do get the stirrings of hunger between meals, I'll have some nuts, some Brazil nuts. I take nuts with me wherever I go as well. If I'm going out to the shop or whatever, supermarket, to buy a few provisions, veggies and stuff, I'll take nuts. I'll take some water as well, because I don't want to be stuck in the middle of nowhere and not know how to deal with my cravings. So it can be really, really helpful just to have a good drink and a few nuts, and that'll see me through to the next meal. I've also found it really, really helpful in my journey to start the day with a savoury breakfast, because so I usually tend to have loads of, I do a big stir fry, loads of veggies, and I'll put coconut milk in and sometimes some peanut butter, or I might scramble in an egg. I always have avocado as well. It's I just find just a savoury breakfast to just keep me going all morning. Whereas in my sugar consumed days, I used to have a smoothie every morning, and a massive smoothie, about 3/4 of a litre of, and it'd be jam-packed with fruit. It would have kale and spinach, linseed, celery, all things that I thought was super duper good. And then I'd wonder why I was just ravenous a couple of hours later. And what I came to realise then was that my blood sugars were all over the place, and I needed a second breakfast when I went to work. So, and I think that's the thing. I'm not saying fruit's bad at all, but if you've got a problem with sugar, fruit can perpetuate that. And I was addicted to fruit, surprise, surprise. So I find I do have a bit of fruit these days, but not much, and I won't start the day with it. Otherwise, I'll get those cravings without fail. And they do say if you've got a problem with sugar, that it's almost like sugar rewires your brain, so that when you do have some, it's like dopamine lights up your brain. And so not everybody has that, but if you've got a problem with sugar, I think watch out for that. How are we doing for time? Are we all right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're good for probably another 10 minutes if you're happy to.
Okay, well, what I'll do is open it up for the questions in a minute, but I just also wanted to say, stay away from artificial sweeteners. Diet Coke, diet lemonade, whatever. That's even worse than Coke. And so anything artificial, how can anything artificial be good for us, really? And we got amazing microbiome, our gut microbiome, and anything artificial is going to upset that. And we need to be nourishing our gut, because our gut is also where 70% of our immunity lies as well. And so yeah, anything processed, anything with chemicals, preservatives, artificial sweeteners, apparently they make things worse. You may eat more. So just be aware of that. And a wonderful way of nurturing our gut bacteria is to eat some probiotics every day. You know, even if it's just a spoonful of sauerkraut, something fermented, so sauerkraut or kombucha, kefir, kimchi. We can ferment our own food at home. There's a whole wealth of things we can ferment, and our gut will thank you. And it's really also very much an immunity booster. So I think sugar is one of the best. Reducing sugar or getting refined sugar out of your life is one of the best things we can do for our immunity, really, because sugar also upsets our microbiome. It messes with our hormones. It just messes with our mood, everything. And so, yeah, that's a top tip as well. And also looking at if you get the stirrings of the sugar monster, I call it, it's really good to have a few distractions that you can turn to try and kind of, yeah, distract yourself. So I, you know, in my days when I was quitting, I'd go down to the allotment, and I love my allotment, and I'd dig away down there, and I'd take my water and my nuts just in case. And before I knew it, you know, I wasn't thinking anymore that I was hungry. I was just feeding myself and doing what I loved, which was really amazing. Or going for a walk in nature, or phoning a friend, or a bit of self-care. These things are wonderful at distracting us so that we keep on track, really. So I'm going to wind down there, and if you've got any questions, that's over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, if any of you haven't, I know I've got a few, but if anyone's got any others that they would like to ask first, then please feel free to unmute yourself and fire away.
Tess, what was the hormone that you said was the one that switches off your hunger button, the one that tells you you're full?
So that's called leptin. And sugar, yeah, inhibits leptin. And so that's one of the reasons why we can just keep going. Have you noticed that you know, one chocolate will just lead to a whole packet? Well, it did with me anyway.
See, I'm not really a really sweet person, but it's the hidden sugars in the savouries.
Yeah.
It's the hidden carbohydrate sugars that are my problem.
Yeah.
So, you know, the potatoes, and although I can control bread, potatoes have got so many other things in as well that actually are important for our diet in this country, not so much in other hot countries and things, because actually they have vitamin C in. During the war, it was the only place we get vitamin C in at times. So I'm loath to cut those out completely. But I can cut out bread. But it is the hidden, it's the carbohydrate sugars that I have problems with. It's the savoury sugars, not the chocolates and the cakes. I can give or take. Always have done. Don't really care about them.
And I think they do say that some breads in the supermarket can spike your blood sugars even greater than a bar of chocolate or something. It's just extraordinary. So, and that's why on the packet, it might say on the traffic light thing, you know, negligible sugar. But if you look on the label, you know, on the back of it, there's loads of carbs in there. And that's what we need to be looking at when we're looking at labels, because the carbs are converted into sugar, which will spike your blood sugars. So, yeah.
That was a good question to ask, I think, Annie, because
really?
I think automatically a lot of us do think of as the sweet treats, you know, and you're absolutely right, you know, there is that other element of the carbohydrates that it was definitely worth asking that question, actually. I'm really pleased you did. So
yeah. And there are some breads that's so much better than others. So I make my own sourdough these days, and that's fermented, and you can really choose what you put into it. So I'll make it with buckwheat and some spelt, which is like an ancient grain that isn't like a, you know, one of the modern wheats. Modern wheat is one of the worst things for, and that high gluten content as well. And so yeah, I really enjoyed that actually during lockdown, making my own sourdough. I love it. Yeah, so bread doesn't need to be total disaster. There, you can make some healthier forms.
Is it easy to make? Do you make it in a bread maker?
No. So Annie, when lockdown's over, come over and we'll make bread together.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I might come and have a peruse of your allotment too, because
yes,
you can come and look at mine and I'll come and look at yours.
To.
If you had a kitchen window, you could, Annie, you could peer through the kitchen window and have the tutorial with that anticipation that actually during lockdown you could be in there doing that with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I make oat bread, so I can completely relate to that.
Okay.
You know, and that's not a bread maker either.
No.
You know, and it's a similar thing that you know exactly what goes into it. You can get quite creative. It's gluten-free, it's yeast-free, very easy to make. Literally pretty much slop everything in together and then chuck it in the oven. Yeah. And I use that with homemade soups.
That's what I need. Slop everything together, chuck it in the oven. That's my type of cookery.
Okay, well I'll see if the recipe that I've got, whether Elaine would mind me sharing it. If she does, obviously then I'll just put you in touch with her. But yeah, if it's on her website and that kind of stuff, then obviously it would be open for people to view anyway. So if it is, I'll send you the link, and then I'll send it to Tessa as well if you want.
Yeah, that would be absolutely awesome.
And
to me as well, please.
Okay. So I think
it's all about making simple swaps as well. So, you know, bad bread to good bread. And I don't eat potatoes these days. I tend to eat sweet potatoes because they're also
they're too sweet. I don't like them.
For me.
They're too sweet. They're just, it's like eating sweets. And
yes.
But you could do half and half, or you could combine the sweet potato with something that's really not sweet, so it might balance that out a bit maybe.
I can do it if I'm using butternut squash.
Okay, because
so
that's sweet, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so roast that off and have that as a carbohydrate in inverted commas, so that I reduce the amount of potato or something.
Tess, you mentioned kombucha.
Yes.
I used to get drinks years back, but I have been unable to get a source.
Me too. So do you make your own, Annie?
Oh, but I know a lady who does.
I make it.
I know.
I can share some SCOBY with you, because that's another thing I've been doing during lockdown, and it's awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I make my own.
Because there's a lady up the road, Lisa, nutritionist.
Yeah.
I'm sure you must have met her.
I have.
Yes. She's making it as a commercial enterprise now.
That's right, yeah.
And she's doing mail order as well. So Richard, really, she's the one for you to get hold of, because it's all local, it's made down here, and I would 100% guarantee it.
Yeah. Or if you want to try and make it your own at home, I can share my SCOBY with you, because it's really easy to make.
I need to have a sort of recipe of what you do with it.
Oh no, it couldn't be easier. And so one of my triggers, I used to love fizzy drinks, and but kombucha is fizzy and it just hits the spot with me, and it's good for you, you know. It's just
I found it very beneficial digestive wise. Because I've got a problem in that my body won't easily absorb fat.
Okay.
There's I'm missing something in my DNA or whatever, but I have to take was it Lizone, Ellipzone or something. What is it? Yeah, lipozane.
Okay. And that's the thing, isn't it? That we're all so different. There's no one size fits all for anyone, and what one person can tolerate, another person can't. But I don't think anyone can tolerate sugar over time. So yeah, it's whatever we can do to try and reduce the refined stuff. Yeah.
And would you say, so there's a couple of questions I had as well, actually. So obviously we've got the how can I put it? Sugar, we tend to feel is like just a broad category. Does the sugar that we need to eliminate from life include things like the raw cane sugar, the molasses, agar, date syrup and all of that kind of stuff? Because sometimes it's a bit hard to know. I know, like when I look at the gluten-free biscuits and stuff, it's like, well, that's fine, the wheat's not there and that kind of stuff. But then you look at the sugar and it goes raw cane sugar, and I go, oh, well, I don't know now, because it is in its raw form, but is it going to still have the same reaction? Am I still going to have my sugars, my blood sugar spiked? And so I just wondered if you could give us a bit of info on that at all.
No, that's a really good question as well. And I think, so I would steer clear from anything that's got raw cane sugar in it. If sugar's a real problem with you, a little sugar is going to lead to a lot. So there's no moderation. And so it's really, I found that with my journey, I had to get it right out of my system for a few weeks, just even 5 or 6 weeks, just, and that included fruit as well, because I was addicted to fruit. And and what that does, it gives the metabolism a chance to recalibrate, really. And then you can start to add in a bit of natural sweetness again in the form of a bit of fruit, maybe a few berries. I use a few dates, a bit of maple syrup, sometimes a bit of raw local honey to sweeten things. But what happens when you stop eating refined sugar is that your taste buds have the chance to awaken, come alive again, and then you're just, anything sweet is going to be, wow, that is so sweet, and you're going to find you need just a little bit. So I eat something sweet every day now, and I enjoy it, and I make my own chocolate, and it's sweetened maybe with a little bit of dates or honey or whatever. And but the difference these days is that I don't need it, and I also just am satisfied with just a little bit. And I know if I've overdone it, because the sugar monster will reawaken and I'll get cravings again. So it's all about trying to balance your blood sugars, really, and listening to your body. And I think knowing about that cycle of addiction, it can really, really help us to understand what's going on in our bodies when we get out those stirrings. And yeah.
Thank you. And
just, sorry.
No, that's okay. Go on.
I was just going to say, can you not just sort of exchange honey for sugar?
No. So white stuff, refined sugar will spike your blood sugar, and it's just like reawakening your addiction again. So I haven't had, in the last, it's 2 years now since I quit. And in fact, I went out for a Christmas meal a year ago, and it was like a vegan, not that I am vegan, but I do love vegan food. And there was a Christmas pudding for afters, and with brandy, butter, whatever, and it was just awesome. And I could have just eaten the whole, it wasn't too sweet for me, I just could have demolished the whole lot. And the next day I was climbing the walls. It was horrible. I never want to go through that again. And it was all I could do to not raid the fridge for my special, my chocolate or whatever. So
I think you maybe misunderstood me.
Sorry.
I'm saying about substituting sugar with honey.
Okay.
Using honey instead of sugar as a natural sweetener, because it's fructose.
Yeah, no, I think honey's awesome if it's raw and local, and if you only have a bit, because it is also really, really sweet. So I can take a bit of honey now, because I know I can, and it won't kick off my cravings, but just depends where you are on the spectrum, really, with sugar. And
okay.
Yeah.
So some of you might also see in the chat, let me know if you can't, because again, it could be a Zoom issue going on, that Annie has put a link for the lady that does the kombucha, which is booyahvitality.co.uk, and her mobile number there. So if you, let me just...
Yeah, that hasn't come up either.
Okay, let me, I think I know why. So try
it's
again.
Come up on mine.
You can see it now. Okay, that's...
it's come up now. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. So that's Lisa's details.
Yeah.
So I think that will be good for you to have.
Thank you.
And I had another question. I completely agree about cereals. I was like that with the cereals that, I'd have it and I'd get to work and I'd be like, God, I'm starving. So I have refined mine a lot, really, both with help from Tessa and also from Elaine Stabbert as well. So I've been finding out a lot more since about September, and it really is making a difference, because a bit like you were saying, don't have stuff in the house. I know that the place I live in restricts my soul. I've been told that. And often I find, like, if I get, for tube of Pringles and you think, no, it'll be fine, I'll manage it. It used to be where they'd be gone like in the night, and I've never been like that ever. And actually recently I thought I'm going to test it, which I know, you could say it's a bad test, but actually I found that I was like, don't really want these, and I was like, well, that's good, so that was quite interesting. But obviously I won't keep testing that, it was just one test. But the couple of questions I had sort of stems from that, actually, that I know there's a lot of research and everything around the emotional side of when we eat, isn't there, with the sugar, and things like, if we haven't got any sweetness in our life, that sometimes we'll go for sugar and stuff. So that was one of my questions about the emotional side of things, and I know that's probably a massive talk in itself, but you might be able to kind of put a brief summary on that one. And also you were saying about sugar gives us that dopamine hit, is whether you had any just off the top of your head, but you might not be able to think of it, but any alternatives to people getting that dopamine hit that isn't sugar? Because I know there's different ones that come up, so I thought I'd ask those questions and see.
Okay, so which one shall I start with? Starting with the dopamine, I don't know, because we've got so many different types of endorphin, haven't we? So we've got the serotonin and the oxytocin, and so unfortunately we can't have hugs at the moment.
We can hug ourselves. Would that produce oxytocin?
We can, but self-care is just awesome, isn't it? And exercise, going out for a walk, getting our hearts beating, just being, in nature and hearing birds sing or whatever. It's just, whatever we can do to make us feel good. We don't need to get it through sugar, and it'll be doing our bodies the world of good as well. Especially exercise is just awesome. About comfort eating, so I think, we talked about the physiology, the physiological response to sugar, and that's quite, it's not that easy, but it is actually. So it's just about, maybe after a couple of weeks, the worst of it is out your system. And I was hallucinating on day 2 when I first started quitting, but I stuck to it because I really had that mindset. But I think psychological side of sugar addiction is more challenging to address, really. And it's that feeling that, and I certainly had that I didn't think I could be happy unless I'd had my sugar fix day after day. And I would have travelled miles to get my cream eggs if I'd run out. But it never happened because I was so prepared that I'd always have a stock, you know. And but yeah, so it's just when you kind of get to the point where you realise that actually sugar doesn't serve us in any shape or form at all. It gives us no benefit, and it really is possible to have an amazing life after sugar. It's almost like we've been brainwashed as a society into thinking that we need sugar, and sugar's going to be everywhere. It's just, yeah. So it's working a lot on the because it's not about willpower. It's because willpower suggests that we're feeling deprived if we don't have our sugar, but it's more about mindset, that when you're determined to nurture your body and do what is good for yourself and make you feel good, then actually sugar is not so hard to quit after all, if you're really looking at self-care and doing what is right for your body.
And I think often, as you say, the first stage is that awareness of actually why might you need it, why might you be going for it, whether that's water, whether it's emotions, whether it's boredom or anything else. And then, as you say, awareness really as to how you feel after you've had it, because often when you've had it, your heartbeat starts to increase, you know, if you're really paying attention, and you know, all of that side of things, isn't it? So I think definitely that awareness is there. So just before we sort of wrap up the talk for today, do you want to just quickly share, because I know you've got a workshop coming up, so if you wanted to just mention details of that, and also maybe just mention your, you know, the recipes, I don't know what you'd call it, the recipes that you send to people, like subscription program, I suppose.
Recipe subscription,
yes.
That's right. So, yeah, so that's great. So yeah, I just feel touch the surface here with sugar. In fact, we've gone a bit deeper than we'd usually have. You know, we've had a bit more time, but I do run workshops where we can really dive deep into sugar, and it's looking more in more detail at the impact sugar's having on our health. And we also have a quiz where we kind of address, we unpack, you know, all the conflicting myths we've been sold about what we should and shouldn't be eating over the years, you know, including fats and calories and sweeteners and all that kind of thing. So that's quite fun and important to do, I think. And we look at where sugar is hiding out in our food, and really look at labels and try and get to grips with that as well. And again, addressing the physical side of addiction and the psychological as well. And then there's also free recipes and tips and everything. So it's an hour and a half workshop. And I do them regularly, and my next one is on Saturday at 10 o'clock, 10 till 11:30. So you're welcome to join, if you know of anyone else, anyone who's got sugar issues that you might think it might be helpful. And also, I do this little recipe subscription that kind of grew out of that first lockdown, kind of focusing on what I could do rather than what I couldn't do with technology and everything. And I wanted to support people with boosting their immunity, you know, not just focusing on lockdown and social distancing, but doing what we could do to strengthen our immunity at home through what we eat. And And so it was, that was the main thing was immunity boosting, refined, sugar-free, quick and easy, delicious, nutritious, mainly plant-based, but not just. So it's for people who are looking to move away from meat and things, but it doesn't kind of exclude that. And a selection of breakfast, lunches, suppers, soups, snacks, and puddings and treats as well. So refined sugar-free puddings, and so I send out a recipe a day, 5 days a week. Just yeah. And can I mention price here?
Yeah, why not?
So it's just £4 a month for that. So it's I was recently last weekend I was in the Sunday Telegraph. They did an article on my recipes, and which is awesome, but they quoted the cost as being £4 a week, and I thought, oh no, the whole point is that it's accessible to everybody. It's really good value, and so yeah, it is taking off. It's really exciting, and I think people find it quite helpful. It's not for anyone who's got huge problems with sugar. It's more for people who love to cook and want ideas, and it can help people move away from refined sugar, or it can also help people once they have got sugar out of their system and how to maintain a refined sugar-free lifestyle, really. So that's it.
Lovely, thank you very much. So I'm going to stop recording now. So let me just do that.